We were walking through the woods, and you're walking in a file, straight line, and guys would just turn right and just start wandering off into the woods. So we'd like run after them, grab them, and I was kind of in the back, like helping people out. And I'm like, dude, I'm feeling good right now. I kind of got my second wind in this sleep deprivation cycle, and I'm helping guys stay in line and having them hold the rucksack of the person in front of them. And I look over to my left and I see a dude just sitting down. So I run up to the dude and I like kick him, and I'm like, why are you sitting down? Like, let's go. I kind of focus my nods, and I'm sitting there talking to a bush. So then I was like, man, I'm fucked up. Like, I'm going to go hold the rucksack of someone in front of me. Welcome to the Infinite Grip Podcast. This is the show for those preparing to earn their place in special operations and other elite tactical careers. We break down the training, mindset, and strategies required to get selected and continue performing long-term. These are proven principles to help you build the body, the mind, and resilience to step into the fight.
How hard is it for you to just walk away from work, silence the phone, close the laptop, and just kind of focus and be present?
Very. I am the type of person who, for better or for worse, I am very addictive. I have a very addictive personality. And I think most ambitious men have a very ambitious personality. And I think whether or not someone is successful in an endeavor or destructive with their life just depends on where they choose to put that energy. Not to get dark right off the start of the podcast, but I have a brother who has been his entire life pretty much addicted to substances, alcohol, drugs, been in and out of prison, ran drugs, freaking all this stuff. And people always ask me who know that backstory of how did you, turn out the way you are right now, being around that, or how are you guys so polar opposites? And I think it's just because I have that same level of energy and ambition and obsessiveness, but throughout my life, I've chosen to put that towards productive things. So from a work standpoint, it is very challenging for me to step away to completely remove everything. And I do remove everything. I put my phone up, I'm done for the day, but my mind is still turning. And then I'll have ideas, and then I'll text you at 2 a.m. saying, hey, I think we should do this, blah, blah, blah. So, it is a challenge for sure.
Speaking of success, I heard this question this last week. I'm curious what your thoughts are on it. If you could achieve all of your goals instantly and just be exactly where you want to be, but you could not tell anyone about it, would you still do it?
Yes. I think both the previous goals I've had and the goals I have now, absolutely. Because I don't think the goals I have are some magical end state. I work the way I do because it's just kind of programmed in me. If I'm not the type of person, and I often joke about this when I think about guys from my high school who have been in the same town and they work a job and they're at, raising a family in a, suburban house and just happy as can be. I have always kind of made the joke of I wish I could be like that. I wish I could just relax, go to the beach and put my freaking toes in the sand and drink a pina colada and be happy with my life. But I'm the happiest when I'm actively working towards a goal, because I think I'm a serial self, developer. I have to be working on something, or I have this nervous energy, this anxiety, this I guess, pit in my stomach that I'm not where or who I could potentially be. So I think regardless as to whether I could tell anybody about my success or not, what success even looks like, I would always be working towards something just like I am now. It might change, right? Just like my goals will change throughout the years, especially as my daughter grows and things like that. I'm sure my goals and my vision for the future will adapt to it, but I would absolutely work towards that. Would you?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think one of my favorite quotes is climb a mountain, tell no one. And I try to live by that, anytime I do have a success, I'd rather just kind of keep that to myself and let people bear witness to the end state, right? Instead of having to constantly, especially in the age of social media, right? Everybody posts every single time they go to the gym, every single time they work out, which is great. I'm glad that they're consistent. If that's their way of keeping themselves motivated and keeping themselves consistent, is like saying, hey, here I am again, here I am again, and seeing those likes, whatever works for them. But for me, like, I don't operate that way. Like, I prefer to like sit there at, I'm kind of a night owl. So all my hard work gets done at 1 o'clock in the morning when everybody else is sleeping. There's no distractions,
That's why I text you so late, dude. I know you're up.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I respond right away. You're like, this guy doesn't sleep. But and just having that chance, it's like, okay, that's why I'm doing my long rucks. That's why I'm doing my long runs. Sometimes I'll go to the gym at 1 in the morning. There's no one there. And for me, it's like, that's the best way I can keep myself accountable, is because it's like, hey, it's myself that I have to answer for. So.
I agree with that too. And obviously we post a bunch of media and everything on social media, and I used to like go to the gym and put my camera up, and it was necessary to get B-roll and the clips that I needed and like demonstrate exercises and stuff like that. But going to the gym and like filming everything I do and putting it up on my stories and saying like I trained today is exhausting. And for me, like, that is my time to clear my mind, push my body. Like it is my time. And if I'm constantly bringing infinite grit into the gym with me or everywhere I go, then I almost feel more resistance to it. So I've been going super early in the morning, not posting anything about workouts, just like enjoying getting my training in again.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's say you post a reel or a story, whatever, and you don't really get too much feedback on it. Does that like make you feel bad about it? Like, are you like, damn, like that did not perform well?
It used to.
Yeah.
When I first started, you post something up on social media and it's intimidating because you're like putting yourself out there.
Right.
Especially being someone who never really used social media inside the military. Like, I'd never posted anything until I got out of the military, deleted my social media many times throughout that process. So like, was never like really even in the space at all. Once I started posting, it was almost like they're judging me, my personality, my character based off of this one 30-second clip. And if it didn't perform well, like, oh, people hate me type of thing. But over the years, like getting so much exposure to it, I take a very objective mindset to it now. Now it's like, if I post something that flops, I'm like, okay, why did it flop? Oh, my hook was poor. Oh, the content wasn't clear. They couldn't walk away from this video and immediately implement something into their lives. So it's like, now I look at it more of like a critical, it's not me as a person. They're not judging my character in these particular videos. They're judging how this particular video and idea performed. And I understand that not all of my ideas are going to be world class or are going to freaking resonate with everybody. So now it used to a lot more than it does. Now it's like, okay, well, I'll just shift, learn from that one, iterate, continue to refine the next videos, and I will find a way.
Yeah. It's crazy seeing all the negative aspects of social media, right? Like, everybody's known like for a long time. It's like, oh, there's bad parts of it too, right? It makes you feel inadequate, like you're comparing yourself to others and whatnot. But just like the long-term mental state of like constantly being fed information, right?
Yeah.
I always see the thing, like our brains are wired to be cavemen, collecting berries, and, we're not meant to be like constantly bombarded with stimulus and whatnot. And, especially like all the events of like the past couple of weeks, whatnot. It's like I get off work at the hospital, I'm like, sit down, relax, and open Instagram. It's like, okay, here's someone getting blown up by a drone in Ukraine. Here's a lady getting stabbed in the neck on the bus. Here's, the 50th time I've seen Charlie Kirk get shot. It's just like constant bombardment of like negative aspects and stuff. And yeah, I think of like one of the Bible verses. It's Matthew 6:22. It says, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. And just constantly seeing all the negative political bullshit that's out there. And it's just a constant feed of it. I feel like it kind of has an effect on someone, whether they accept it or not.
100%. I mean, even in myself, there's been a lot of events that, we've seen over the years. Obviously, there's been events that I was part of in the military that have had a profound impact on me. But like the things, especially with Charlie Kirk, over the last couple of weeks have had a profound impact on me. But it has also led to me kind of like what you and I talked about off the mic, going down rabbit holes. And to me, I've developed anxiety around it, just like spending that much time on social media and been inundated with it. So I recently downloaded the app Opal and like limited the amount of time I can even spend on social media. And I feel significantly better. So I think it is, I think it's important to understand. I like to kind of frame it like this. Like we've talked about this in a training aspect before of like, when you're playing Madden, you're playing a video game and you can kind of use points after a match and put towards different skill sets. Well, I also like to think about it on a daily basis that we have a certain number of points or a certain number of energy units. And if we choose to use those energy units by consuming this content, by over scrolling, by spending 4 hours on our phone, whatever throughout the day, then it is impacting our cognitive load, which is going to impact our creativity, going to impact our ability to be present. It's going to impact, there's also a book I'm reading right now, which we should do an upcoming podcast on. It's going to increase the perceived rate of exertion for running and doing these movements because we have this cognitive load that we're carrying because we're putting attention to something that really doesn't bring anything to our lives. I think it's important to stay informed and to have an opinion, like develop knowledge. Maybe Instagram and these short form, social media platforms are not a way to do this or a sufficient way to do this, but develop an understanding of a particular topic and develop your own opinion on that and belief structure. But to constantly get inundated with little bits of information that's driving, your attention left and right all over the place, and it is getting or invoking this like deep emotional response continuously throughout the day, I think is dangerous, and I think detracts from our lives more than it brings value.
Yeah, 100%. It's insane how exhausting it can be, right? All you're doing is sitting there on the couch and flicking your finger. It's just you walk away and you're like, oh, like I need a break from taking a break, right?
I know. And for you and I know like our freaking algorithms are pretty similar. I think yours is a little bit more gruesome than mine, but like you get off the phone and you're like, whew, that was heavy,
Yeah,
so
blame all my friends for sending me all that shit.
Yeah, some of your
like, oh, Tyler must like this. Let's give him more.
Some of your emergency, stuff that you send is absolutely insane. So I think that stuff definitely plays in, and all right, it has a impact on our cognitive load, which has an impact on, like I said, creativity and our energy throughout the day, our ability to focus. I think one of the biggest things that we can do to actually make progress, be happier, work towards a goal is just like really preciously or intentionally protect your ability to focus. And like really take pride in your ability to focus on one thing for a period of time deeply, like deep focus on that. And I think the individuals who have that skill set and who protect it and utilize it on a daily basis usually see a lot of productivity and a lot of, or the achievements and success that comes along with it.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned, how you get your information, news and whatnot. So if you're not using social media, what's your preferred method of gathering that?
There are, I'll usually use like YouTube, more like long form. I'm not saying all social media is bad, but I think the problem a lot of times, and we're seeing this with Charlie Kirk, right? People will see a 30-second clip of something and they'll develop a opinion based on that small clip with no context, whereas the context might be 15 minutes long and you have such a shallow understanding of it. So I think it's important to not only listen to long form content if you're going to be listening, or read long form content, but read and listen to multiple sources who have maybe opposing opinions on it, and then develop like out of all of that information, then you kind of develop your more well-rounded opinion on it. But I think it's so easy in today's day and age to see a couple clips that have this emotional, we have this emotional response to, and we misinterpret it, or our minds are very good at filling in the gaps. Like that's what our minds are made to do. That's how we learn languages. That's how we learn new skill sets, is filling in the gaps of missing information based off of the information that we know or we understand. So the same thing happens with social media. We hear a little bit of information, then we fill in the gaps of this context that a lot of times makes our beliefs flawed. So I think it's important to challenge those and get, your sources from, or like get your information from more long form sources, or post that into ChatGPT and say, hey, using the Socratic method, I like attack my idea. Like, let's debate, let's talk about it, let's go more in depth, ask ChatGPT questions. All of that information is right there at our fingertips, but a lot of people just take it at surface level and then they fill in the gaps, and then they have these misconstrued opinions on things that they don't really understand.
Yeah.
Which I've been, guilty of myself. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I've realized that that's what happens. It's like, oh, I saw this, and then I watch a long form on it, and I was like, oh, really didn't understand that.
Mm-hmm. It's insane how hostile discussion has become, and not just with this incident, but with the recent years of politics. And if you have someone that doesn't believe the same as you, and you even throw your idea out there, just the hostility on social media. And I'm sure that's social media versus like being face to face with someone. Like, the discourse will be a little bit different, and they'd have a little more of a discussion rather than just attacking someone. But yeah, I think having that social media has really like dehumanized the interaction. And you look as like, oh, I see their profile picture and they're saying it's something I'll believe in. I'm going to curse them out, tell them that they're dumb, and, feel good about myself for doing so, versus just the idea of like having an argument for your point that you're trying to make and expressing that and having them counter argue.
100%. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head by saying social media has dehumanized people, because it's really easy to get on there and argue with some pixels. But when you meet someone face to face, their name, you see their body language, when you're in person with them, I think things change. And, I think it's important, like I said, to have your opinions on things and be well educated and develop your own beliefs. But it's naive to think that all of your beliefs are going to be 100% correct 100% of the time. They're just based on the information that we currently have. And to think that all of the information about any topic is a fallacy, and it's a big mistake. So I think a lot of times when we have these beliefs and we're like, hey, nothing you say can challenge my beliefs, and I'm going to get angry at you and challenge your character because you don't agree with me, I think that's where a lot of the problem comes in. Instead of like, okay, well, I don't agree with you, but like try to help me understand why you believe that. And I think that's where we're missing the ball.
Mm-hmm.
There's no understanding. There's just one side or the other. You're either on this side or you're on that side, and you're either with us or against us. Everyone else is a terrible person, and whatever. So I think there should be some way to kind of bridge the gap, or like I wish we could snap our fingers and have everyone have this like understanding, like, oh, I love all Americans. Like I have respect for you as a person. Like, I don't care if you have different beliefs. Like, let's talk about it. Let's understand each other's points of view. And maybe the truth is a little bit more, in the center, which is most often the case, and we can get to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I said this last election cycle, but just it's hard for me to think that there's anyone, Democrat, Republican, Independent, that really has a malicious intent when they're voting, right? They are checking that box because they legitimately believe that is the best decision for the country. Mm-hmm. And if I like try to keep that in mind, it's like, okay, I think I can have a discussion with that person because they're willing to, acknowledge that and walk down there in person or take a mail-in ballot, make the check and send it back in because they legit believe that.
Right. Whether you agree with it or not, right. They legitimately believe that they're doing the right thing.
Right. I don't think there's too many people out there that are like, oh, this is going to screw up America, so I'm going to do it. Even though like some people may feel that that's the case, but I don't think that is.
Yeah. Different. And we talked about it before today. The one thing that had surprised you or you liked about the military was that there's so many different backgrounds that join the military, right? There's so many different types of people, races, nationalities. People get nationalized through the military, get their citizenship. So there's so many different types of people, and it's easy to be in this like echo chamber of like my friends, my family, my neighborhood, my lifestyle, and not necessarily worry about some of the other issues or things going on in the world and think that everyone has the same experiences. Whereas, as we both found out in the military, people come from wildly different backgrounds and experiences. Does that mean we have to agree with everything they say and bend the knee to their beliefs and their thought process on things. No, we can be strong in our beliefs, but we should show them the respect of having that. And we can have debate and try to convince each other back and forth, but trying to, disrespect people for this belief, which they, again, think is the right thing, is, I think, a big mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see that the White House is trying to get back into Afghanistan?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
It's kind of wild, huh? I wonder what the intent is with that.
Probably strategic placement of an airbase, if I were to guess.
Yeah.
I think, Bagram was a very strategic place to have our troops and air power forward deployed. It's on the east side of Iran, right in the Middle East, like tons of places you can get to in a short period of time from there. So if I were to guess, it's a strategic play in the Middle East to be able to place bombers or some type of air presence in that, that region. But yeah, it's interesting.
I think the funniest thing was the White House was like, hey, we'd really like to come back and establish a presence. And the Taliban said, no. And I quote, they said, use realism and rationality.
Yeah.
And I just think that's hilarious that a terrorist organization is just being like, no, sorry, you can't come stay here. Like, picture 20 years ago hearing this news article and being like, what? Like, why are we doing that?
Yeah. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not a political expert, and I don't know or pretend to assume what's going to happen. But to me, it is surprising. It almost feels like it's coming out of nowhere. I'm sure there are strategic, points that are trying to be made or captured that we don't have information, on. So I always like to keep that in mind. Like, I have a very small sliver of the entire puzzle of like why we really want that base. But my concern is like, well, if they don't, we saw what he said, there's going to be repercussions essentially. What does that mean for U.S. troops? Mm-hmm. And what does that mean long-term for U.S. troops? Because personally, I had a lot of anger built up when I watched people die in Afghanistan and watched people get injured, and we just pulled out seemingly for nothing, right? Developed a lot of animosity towards the organization of the military for me and the government. So if we go back in, does that mean troops are going to be in harm's way again? Are we going to lose people again? And if so, what is the purpose of that? And what is that going to look like 10 years down the road? Are we just going in to take some land, launch some planes, make some money for the government, feed the, military industrial complex, lose some lives along the way, and then bounce in 10 years? Or is it something bigger? Mm-hmm. If it's something bigger and you clearly explain to me what the freaking reasons are as to why we need to go back in and like what the strategic value is, what it's going to bring for us and the strength in the region, stability in the region, great. Maybe I can get behind it. But right now where it's just like, hey, we just need that base. And if U.S. troops have to go fight for it and potentially die for it, I would like to know the reasons why.
Yeah. It is interesting though, because if you think back like all the way to World War II, right? Germany, Japan, we have bases there now. Korea, we have a base there. Like all these places that were war fronts, we've established a foothold, and we have pretty good relationships with those countries now. I almost think it would be you said I'm not a geopolitical expert, but I feel like it'd be in the Taliban's best interest that they want to be recognized as like a real government, like they're trying so hard to be the last couple of years. Then that would be their best move to say, okay, yeah, you can come in. We have nothing to hide, sort of thing. I can see like why they wouldn't want the U.S. there, but since they're trying to like go towards a more moderate shift of like, oh, see, we're a real government, we can handle ourselves, and I feel like that'd be the best way to do it. It's like, okay, yeah, you can come in.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
that is a good point. I don't think it'll happen.
I don't either.
Because there's a deep-seated hatred for it. And if we were, like, let's say we did go back to Bagram, there is such hatred from the Taliban towards the U.S. We've been bombing them for 20 years. So does that mean day one they're going to start launching mortars on the Bagram again? You know what I mean? Like they're going to start launching rockets over the freaking the walls. And what does that mean for the U.S. response in the region? Does that mean that the U.S. is going to bolster its presence and start pushing out patrols into those areas, conducting targeted raids on, key leaders? Like we're going to be right back to where we were. What's the purpose? So like, I get it from a strategic standpoint of having, air power in the region and projecting a presence and power in the region. But it does worry me for the guys on the ground that would have to go action it and then live there and potentially start getting attacked by the Taliban all over again. Like, what does that look like? And especially if we go in there hostilely and take it over, I have concerns about troops losing their lives for a purpose that is unclear again.
Sure. Now, I've never been to Afghanistan, and obviously we're not there anymore. What was your experience with like the people, the weather? Like, what was the country like as a whole?
So I was in Afghanistan twice. I was there in 2014 where I was at Bagram the entire time. And then I was there in 2019. That was with the deployment with Special Forces. And for this, I was up north at Mazar-e Sharif. And then I went out to Kunduz a bit, went out to Faryab for a bit. So I was traveling around the country, experiencing different parts of the country. My initial impression when I landed in Bagram in 2014, and it was like nighttime, went straight to my chew and friggin' dropped my bags, let us sleep for a little bit, and then told us to be there in the morning. And I walk outside and I look around. I didn't really know what to expect. One, it was cold as shit. It was like April. And I look around and there's just mountains freaking towering, like huge mountains, and not some of the biggest mountains I had ever seen up to that point in my life. So I was like, damn, this place is wild. Like there's a beauty to it. So, there are definitely beautiful parts of Afghanistan. It's a beautiful country, I think, like the landscape. Up north, it's kind of more rolling hills type of thing. But even when you're flying into Kunduz, like northeast province of Afghanistan, it's kind of rolling hills, but down in the valleys is nice green, lush, tree lines, farm fields. Like it's pretty. I remember there was multiple flights where I was flying into those areas and I was like, damn, this place is like super pretty. Out in Faryab, there was like these little rolling hills, and all the rolling hills had farm fields on them. I was like, this is like,
Switzerland or something.
Not like Switzerland, but like if this wasn't a war zone, it'd be really pretty.
Sure.
I don't know if I would come visit, but it is a lot prettier than I thought it was going to be. I thought, Afghanistan, freaking desert, mud huts, like whatever. You get there and you're like, yeah, this is like nice. Mm-hmm. You go into the villages and it's almost surreal how far behind they are. They're legitimately all mud huts. All the walls are constructed out of mud. They're called calots. They're like 3 foot of mud, freaking impenetrable almost, like really, really hard to penetrate through those. And it's just like a giant maze. Like everyone has these 6-8 foot, walls kind of around their compound, all dirt floor, like no flooring or anything like that. And then all of their huts or like homes are interconnected. So like they share a compound wall with their neighbor. Mm-hmm. So they have these little alleyways and it's kind of like a maze, but it's very interesting to see how they live and how simple it is. Like they might just have some blankets on the ground in a dirt floored compound that's all constructed with mud. They have some vegetables growing. They have a cow freaking tied up inside the compound with them with a rope that he can't move but 3 feet. And that's just how they live their lives. Mm-hmm. So it was surreal to be there and experience that, even on like the human side. The people, obviously we were there to conduct operations. So we primarily focused on men and any military age male while we were conducting these operations. We didn't arrest them, but we controlled them. We'd search them and we'd put them all together so that they don't go off somewhere and grab a weapon, right? Women, we didn't really touch. We had, women on some of our operations and they would talk to them. But as a man in that culture, you can't go talk to a woman. So we would leave them alone. And I remember actually CJ and I were, the A&A had already cleared through this village that we were kind of sitting on the outside of. And there was like an IED in the first little building that we came to. So we took care of the IED, blew it up, and then CJ and I took an NMRG, which is kind of like a minesweeper, National Mine Reduction Group. They're Afghans who are vetted a little bit more and integrated with us. We took an interpreter, and then CJ and me, and we kind of just started going through some of these different buildings. And I remember there was one building we went to, and we climbed up on the roof, and we're kind of pulling security out, looking over this village. And the inside of this house was like a bunch of like women or children even who were sleeping on pillows on the ground in this like living room. And I'm assuming the mother or the grandmother, not elderly, but probably in her 40s, mother came out and started talking with us, and our interpreter started engaging her, and he was like, she's asking if you want water and bread, like if you want food, like she was trying to feed us. We were actively on this operation, like kitted up, nods on, full kit, weapons, and she was trying to feed us some of her food, which she probably doesn't have very much of. So I was like, there's very good people there too. It's not all, Taliban, hate the US. Like there's people who are normal people just trying to live their lives. They want nothing but peace in their area. They just want to tend to their children, raise a family, row crop, stuff like that. So that was, I knew that going in, right? I knew not all people there are bad. They're integrated with the civilian population. But seeing that and like having her like be persistent about giving us some of her bread because we were in her house, in her compound, pulling security on the roof, it humanized the entire situation for me. Mm-hmm. Like, damn, that's crazy. Like people are just trying to live their lives. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was, there were situations like that throughout the deployment where, there was ups and downs and kind of situations that humanized the population for me. But overall, the experience was surreal, humbling, and gave me a deeper understanding of the world, I think, like human nature.
Now, when you were in these mud huts and you're seeing how little they have, did it make you feel thankful for what you have in America, or did it make you feel envious of their more simple lifestyle?
That's a good question. I don't know that I ever felt envious, but I can definitely appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because, I'm very thankful for what I have in the U.S. I think we live in the best country in the world. We have more opportunity than any other country in the world. Like name a country that has more opportunity and more freedom. But there is something to be said about being able to live that simply. Kind of like what I talked about in the beginning of the podcast, like looking at the people back home who can live on a street, work a job, live in a house, and almost feeling like, man, I wish I could do that. I wish I could be content doing that. It was almost the same feeling. Like,
sure.
I wish I could be content, living this simply. I wish I could be content just having a simple life like this. So I appreciated it. It opened my eyes to some of the hardships that come along with that type of lifestyle, but I'll never, take what we have for granted.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah. Like I said, I've never been there. Hopefully we won't be there again.
Yeah. Right.
For a lot of the younger guys that, they grew up hearing about Afghanistan and, all you know is it's on the other side of the world. It's mountainous, it's cold.
And the Taliban is
and the Taliban's there. It's about the full extent of what a lot of people know and just kind of understand. It's like, it's people there too. Like everybody's just trying to do their own thing, survive, and make their way through this thing called life. So
yeah.
Thanks.
I've actually since then, because I've been interested to see like what Afghanistan looks like now,
mm-hmm.
and there's been several vlogging YouTubers or like travel YouTubers that have gone over there and like shared their entire experience. And, there's definitely times, and I think obviously like the Taliban is going to be on their best behavior when there's cameras there and they're trying to be a legitimate government, but they do show a lot of behind the scenes and like the people there that have nothing to do with the Taliban. They just want to live in peace, like be happy lives. And they're a very generous and caring people at their core. Yeah. So I think it's like kind of like what we talked about with trying to understand everyone's perspective or different, the perspectives around the world. I think it's important to understand that there's only just like in the US, there's only a certain percentage of our population, which is very small, that will go forward and will fight. There's that same thing in other countries. There's only a small population of these countries who are fighters, who are true believers, who are trying to kill you. There's a larger population who are just trying to live their own lives.
Mm-hmm. I think it's human nature to be kind and care about others and do what you can. Sooner or later, there's a level of corruption for some people.
Yeah.
It's
easy to demonize an entire population of people when when you only have a sliver of the information, though.
Yeah, 100%. So I just want to kind of shift the gears a little bit and talk about some methodology. So especially with this past summer, everybody going on their annual trainings and doing the FTXs and being out in the field, we'll see a lot of people say, hey, I still want to work out while I'm out there. And do you have any recommendations for workouts, whether it's body weight or bands? Is there a legitimate reason to continue to do fitness while you're out in a field environment like that? Or is it detrimental because you're not getting proper sleep, not getting good nutrition, and it's just going to cause more undue stress on the body and you're not even going to have a chance to rebuild? What are your thoughts on that?
It depends on the type of trip to the field. Depends on the type of operations. And most guys, when you get to the Q course, you will go be a G, which is a guerrilla. You'll go be a role player for Robin Sage. So you'll go live in the woods for 2 weeks and you'll be the partner force for the students who are actively in Robin Sage, like trying to finish out the qualification course. So it's really cool to get exposure to it, see what behind the scenes. But I remember when I went on my G experience, when I was a G for 2 weeks, I was mostly hanging around a campfire during the day, sleeping 6-8 hours in the tent every night. I was eating MREs, and then we would train with the guys who were going through the course and then go out and conduct operations. So that was a trip to the field, but my overall expenditure or the stress I was placing on my system was relatively low because most of it was spent sitting around a campfire, playing games, talking shit, and going through the training. So in that environment, if that's what your trip to the field looks like and there's lots of downtime, then absolutely get some body weight work in. We hung a pull-up bar, someone brought TRX bands, we were getting workouts in, doing lunges, carrying rocks, like up a hill, doing all this stuff. And if you have the recovery capacity and you're sleeping well, you're getting, even if it's MREs, you're getting sufficient calories on a daily basis, then get some training in. If you're going to a field environment where it's like a gunnery trip and you're going to be sleep deprived, you're going to be doing live fires at night and you're, running around, getting very little sleep, making sure everyone has their ammo, all that type of stuff. Like, don't try to fit in fitness on top of all that stress. The understanding I want to have, or like want guys to have with fitness, is like our goal when we train is to get better at doing what we're doing, right? Mm-hmm. So whenever we train, let's say we're starting at baseline. You are imposing stress on your body, and that's how you're communicating to your body that you want these specific adaptations to occur. And that stress is going to reduce you below baseline for a period of time. You're going to get worse at doing that thing for a period of time while you recover. Then with sufficient recovery, sufficient nutrition, we get back to, and ideally, this is a goal, slightly above baseline. And that is our new baseline or our homeostasis. And over time, we gradually increase that. So if you're going to an environment where you're sleep deprived, you're calorie restricted, and you're already below baseline because of all of these other stressors, just doing additional fitness, doing additional training, and driving yourself further below baseline is not going to be in your best interest. Same thing coming out of the field. If you haven't been sleeping well in the field, you're going to be below baseline. So our goal is to recover quickly. We can get some light stimulus, but not crush ourselves trying to make up sessions coming out of the field, so that we can get to baseline, and then we can start getting actual training that we're going to be able to adapt from. So go into it with that mindset. If I'm already sleep deprived, no. Recover, maybe do some mobility work, especially if you're carrying a ruck all day long. But as far as like doing hard gut check style workouts, carrying shit, other stuff like that, like no, like save it for the end. Yeah. And even coming out of the field, one of the biggest mistakes I see guys make is just trying to play catch up. They missed 3 or 4 workouts while they were in the field. They didn't sleep well, and then they'll come out and they'll try to stack 2 or 3 workouts in the same day, thinking that they just need to check the block on these workouts, and that's how they're going to make progress. When you're coming out of the field, ease back into the training. If you're super under-recovered, super undernourished, like don't go out there trying to make up for lost time. Just jump back in it, get some decent stimulus. As you're feeling stronger, your glycogen stores are replenishing, your recovery is increasing, then you can increase the intensity to actually get something from those sessions.
Yeah, awesome. And I'm sure you see that a lot, right? Guys asking you that.
Oh yeah, a lot of our community is actively in the military. Sure. So I have this conversation almost every day, with guys coming out of the field, and I'll see it and I'll tell guys this like beforehand, and then I'll get a message be like, hey, just doubled up workouts, trying to catch up for the week. I'm like, stop. So yeah, it is a very common thing. And I get it. Like I did the same things. You go to the field, you come out of the field, and because you're so under recovered, you feel skinny fat, you feel weak, and you just want to get back to it. And you think that by crushing yourself further is the way you're going to get that strength back. But a lot of the weakness you feel coming out of the field is not a loss of strength. It is poor glycogen stores, poor energy stores, poor recovery. And that is what's contributing to you feeling that way, not that you lost all of this strength. It takes a lot more than 4 or 5 days in the field to like legitimately lose this strength that you have built up over a period of time.
How long? 4 or 5 days, you said?
Well, I'm saying for a trip to the field. Yeah. But atrophy won't start taking place for like 2 weeks.
Oh, really?
So a lot of the weaknesses you feel are neurological. Just like building strength is primarily neurological, and being able to more efficiently recruit the existing muscle fibers coming out of the field when we're super under recovered, we haven't slept, we haven't ate well, we're not going to recruit those muscle fibers nearly as well as we could on the front side. So that's why when you come out of the field, you'll usually see your strength bounce back pretty quickly as you get more recovered. It's not you gaining your strength back, it's you recovering and getting back to baseline.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. I didn't even know that. So yeah, that's cool.
The more you know.
Today I learned. So per usual, we're going to hit up some questions from the community, and we had a Q&A session on Thursday, so we'll have to get those in for next week, but these are the ones from the previous week. So our first question is, should someone walk with a heavy ruck around 60 pounds and only run with a light one around 30 pounds? Or should they practice running with heavy as well?
Good question. For selection, you are going to have to carry a ruck that is 45 pounds dry. That's going to be about 55 pounds. And for those movements, you're going to have to run with it. So we do like to build people up to at least getting exposure to running with that amount of weight. We have to get the development with the impact resistance. We have to build up your tendon and ligament strength. We got to get some type of exposure to it before going into that environment. And it's good to feel that. But aside from like a peak phase going to selection, let's say you're more than 8 weeks out of going to selection, we should primarily be walking with the heavier weight if we're building up to that 45 pounds. And if we're running, we can do it in kit or we can do it with a lighter ruck. So it depends on the circumstances. There are some protocols. I know the Air Force down in Texas has a rucking protocol where they ruck with a lot of weight for short periods of time and walking only. And their methodology is that they're potentiating the nervous system, which, they've seen decent results with it. So there is some potential truth there that you can walk with heavier weight, but we shouldn't be putting 80 pounds on our back or 60 pounds on our back regularly and running with it, thinking that we have to do that forever to see the progress there. So we should be primarily walking only. With 35 pounds, as we're getting closer, we can build up to that 40, 45 pounds, 45 pounds dry, so 55 total. And then include some ruck runs in there, some interval rucks, etc. But we don't need to just do it perpetually forever. That was a mistake I made when I went to selection. I thought rucking was like, if you were walking with a rucksack, you were being lazy.
Mm-hmm.
So every single ruck I went on as a new soldier, every weekend, from like the time I was in the Army for a year to the time I was in the Army for 3 years, I ran with a ruck, and I developed crazy Achilles tendonitis. I developed so many issues out of it. But that's what I thought you needed to do. It's not true. We just need to walk with a ruck, get our body conditioned to carrying the load, get our body conditioned to the impact, get our hip flexors used to moving, build up the overall strength to be able to move that load. And then as we're getting closer and we need to kind of have the exposure or the training for that maximum performance to go crush those 12-mile rucks, then we can run a little bit more. But we shouldn't be doing it perpetually, like I said.
And even for those runs, they're not true runs, right? They're more of a shuffle.
Yeah, they're like an airborne shuffle.
Yeah.
So with the form, I think that's the next question.
It was the next question.
What's the proper form / cadence for an airborne shuffle? What do you think it is?
So for me, like, I think of a song that's like 120 beats per minute.
Okay.
And I just like kind of do that. Can't think of what song or what I do. It'll come to me. But yeah, I'll just like kind of play that in my head, and then I do like the whole light pole thing, right? So I'll walk 2, run 1, walk 2, run 1.
Fartlek? Yeah.
Sure. What'd you call me?
The fartlek method.
Yeah.
That's like exactly what you just explained. Yeah. I mean, and the specific cadence is going to depend on the individual. Guys with shorter legs might need a little bit more cadence or higher cadence than guys with longer legs. And I had played with my cadence quite a bit. Sometimes I would be a little bit longer. Sometimes I would be, intentionally shorter, but right in the middle, is kind of my sweet spot. I don't know like what steps per minute that is. It's just what feels comfortable and what I can maintain.
Yeah.
But we want to have a slight lean from the hips, so we're not rounding our back, slight lean forward from the hips. And this is why we put that weight nice and high and close to our shoulder blades, because it's going to make that our new center of mass, or the bulk of the weight is going to be at our center of mass. And then when we're shuffling, we want to keep our knees bent and essentially 1 foot on the ground at all times. Mm-hmm. If we're jumping, like when you're running, all it is just a process of making jumps and lands, controlled jumps and lands. So if we are shuffling and essentially 1 foot ideally is on the ground at most times, we're going to be limiting the impact that we're putting on our system, because running with a load will have a big multiplier on the amount of stress it's placing on our joints. So keep your knees bent, foot strike under your center of mass. To do so, we're going to have a slight lean forward, weight nice and high, your shoulder blades. And then the biggest thing for airborne shuffle that I see guys making a mistake on is overextending or overreaching, especially when they're going downhill. A common, ruck technique or strategy is to walk the uphills, run the downhills, which is a fantastic strategy for timed rucks. I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing it on all your training rucks. But when we're running downhill, especially with being able to take a little bit longer strides because the ground is sloped downward, a big problem you see is guys extending their leg and almost blocking their knee out. That is almost acting as a brake, and it's going to put a lot of pressure on your knees, which might not cause an acute injury on the spot, but is probably going to lead to some pain throughout that ruck. So especially going down hills, make sure you are keeping your knees bent. Your foot strike is near under your center of mass, and ideally keeping 1 foot on the ground at all times.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So for our next question is, what are some hobbies that directly improve SFAS related skills?
Hunting, dog.
I knew you were going to say it. I thought about saying other than hunting, but I didn't want to put you in a rough spot.
Did you?
There. Yeah, I almost said it.
I mean, I can't not. I legitimately think that learning to hunt and spending as much time in the outdoors, kind of like what we talked about, I'm freaking obsessive. Getting obsessed with the outdoors had a big was a big contributing factor to my success in special forces because one of the biggest components to guys failing selection is land navigation. I remember sitting in a tree stand in the woods at like 4 a.m, watching the sun come up a month before my selection started. And I was like, dude, I fucking do this shit for fun. Like, this is how I, you know what I mean? Like,
it's your therapy.
Yeah. And then when they dropped the points and I started the land nav course, I was like, dude, I'm just, I literally told myself this as much like another day in the woods. Like, I'm going hunting, chasing whitetail, like not a big deal.
Yeah, you get the time under load, you get the navigation aspect, you get the moving through the woods, comfortability in the woods.
Yeah.
You get all those skills. So.
And you learn some man shit. All right.
Learn some man shit. That's the beard growing fuller.
Yeah, exactly. I actually got so much personal development out of hunting because I learned all of those skills. I learned how to skin animals, tan their hides, butcher their meat. I did it all. I made jerky from their meat. I literally have a meat grinder in my garage where I grinded up all the meat, made all my own burger, like did all that stuff, like learned all those skills, learned the navigation, learned the comfortability in the woods. And then when I moved from Arizona to Tennessee, I didn't have access to public land anymore because in Tennessee, it's primarily private land. If you hunt public land, there's like the Orange Army, tons of freaking people out there, really hard to find deer. So what I did is I used Onyx Hunt to, e-scout particular properties. And then I went on and knocked on doors. And that helped me get out of my shell a little bit with the ability to talk to people. I was literally cold bumping people for permission to hunt on their land. So like when I look at hunting as a whole and the impact it's had on my life, I got a ton of development out of it, not only for selection, confidence of my, of being able to do it on my own. Because a lot of times I didn't have somebody to teach me. Like the first time I ever skinned a deer, I had never done it. I was there by myself. And what I did, because this is before you could download YouTube videos to your computer, is the morning before I would leave the house, I would open up my laptop. I'd open a browser, hit YouTube, and I would let the video buffer so it's loaded. Then I would close my laptop and it's essentially ready to watch if I don't click off that browser. Then I bought a hitch hoist so I could plug it into the hitch of my truck and hang the deer off of it. And I opened the tailgate of my truck, had the laptop on the tailgate of my truck, drug the deer over there, and then I went step by step, like watching the video. All right, now I'm going to cut here. Watching the video, cut here. So like that showed me that you can fucking learn anything you want. Like you don't have to wait for permission to somebody to teach you something. You don't have to, like have someone holding your hand the entire time. Like you can go learn whatever you want. And if I can learn how to shoot a bow, buy a bow off of Craigslist, go find private land to hunt in, go hang a tree stand, pattern deer, shoot a deer, skin the deer without anybody teaching me anything, just freaking YouTube, anybody can learn anything.
Yeah. I love that, man. I mean, it's like that car I'm restoring. I'm restoring a 1977 Toyota Celica, and everybody's like, oh, you know how to work on cars? I'm like, nope, no idea. But, I'll just start one step at a time, especially with ChatGPT, dude. It's crazy, like, what you can plug in there.
Yeah.
I'll be like, the engine is idling rough, like, where are the things I should check from easiest to most difficult? I just start going down the list, and it's, like, easier than ever to, like, learn how to do a new skill. Now it's like, okay, once I have this thing completely running and great, now I know every part of it, every aspect. If something goes wrong, I know what to check first, and just that whole learning experience. So yeah, I've never been good with cars, but I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna figure it out. So
that's badass.
Same thing.
See, like if you have the willingness and the desire and the motivation to put time and effort into something, like all of the information today is at our fingertips.
Right.
Fuck college, dude.
Who needs college? It's a scam. How else will I learn my underwater basket weaving?
Yeah.
Real quick, would you rather never go to the gym again or never hunt again?
Oh, dude. That's tough. I think I would say I would rather never hunt again.
Wow.
That.
I thought it was going to be the other way around.
My thought process, if I were to say I would never go to the gym again, I would say hunting, because you get physical activity, you're carrying a pack, you can do all that stuff.
Sure.
But I only hunt 10 days of the year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So am I willing to give up the other, I don't know, 320 days of the year that I train in the gym?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
It's a lot, dude. It's really consistent.
When I actually don't take rest days anymore.
Do you? Or don't you?
I haven't taken a rest day in probably 6 weeks.
Wow.
And I feel pretty fucking good. Yeah. So my rest days are me doing a 45-minute walk with the dogs with a 25-pound weighted vest.
Okay.
But my actual training plan, I'm doing an asynchronous split. So 2 days on, 1 day off. And that 1 day is when I do the walk, and it's an upper lower split. So, and those training sessions are 2 of them. The first 2, like block A, I would say, is lower rep, higher intensity, pushing heavier weight. Then I rest. And then the next 2 are a little bit more hypertrophy focused.
And you're organizing and managing dozens of clients and making content and still in bed before 9. So that's great.
I'm in bed before freaking 8:30, dude.
Such an early bird. I love it.
I'm reading in bed before that time, dude.
Yeah.
If I'm not, I'm grumpy.
What is your funniest story from the Q course that you can't remember?
Oh, man. The funniest story from my Q course experience. So we were out at SUT. SUT is small unit tactics, and it's like a mini ranger school. Like you go out for a couple days, you do raids and ambushes, and then you come back for a day, get refit, and then they drop another mission, you go out again. So during those 4 days, you're sucking, especially like day 3, day 4, like very little sleep. You've been sleeping in a patrol base, shitting in a slit trench in front of people, like all around you, just not getting sleep, pulling security all night. So you might get an hour or 2 of sleep. I remember I was so tired that there were times where I was like trying to take ammo counts when I was on a leadership position, and I kept waking up and my notepad and my piece of paper or my pencil were on the ground. It was like falling asleep standing up. And one night, we call it the Trail of Tears. There's 2 funny stories of this I'm going to share. And we were walking through the woods, and I was so tired that guys just started walking off into the woods. Like you're walking in a file, a straight line, and guys would just turn right and just start wandering off into the woods. So we'd like run after them, grab them, and I was kind of in the back, like helping people out. And I'm like, dude, I'm feeling good right now. Like, I don't think I kind of got my second wind in this sleep deprivation cycle. And I'm helping guys stay in line and having them hold the rucksack of the person in front of them. And I look over to my left and I see a dude just sitting down, like sitting and chilling up against a tree. So I run up to the dude and I like kick him, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck? I was like, why are you sitting down? Like, get in, like, let's go. What is going on? And I like, it's under nods, night vision, which is going to make you hallucinate a little bit more. I kind of focus my nods and I'm sitting there talking to a bush. So then I was like, man, I'm fucked up. Like, I'm going to go hold the rucksack of someone in front of me.
Right.
So,
Everybody's gone.
So I went
Yelling
back
at bushes.
And then I want to share another one because this is funny too. But the second story is they had us do a packing list prior to going out to this field exercise. And up to that point, they'd kind of been lax on the packing list. Like, they're not going to check it really. Well, they were alluding before we went out that they were going to check this one. Like, hey, make sure your packing list is squared away. So I did. I thought I did. I made sure I had all this stuff on the packing list, number of socks, everything, because they're going to have us do a layout. Well, sure as shit, we do a raid and it's like the middle of the night. They tell us to turn our headlamps on and lay out your tarp. I can't think of the word right now, and put all your stuff on it in this order. So we did, and I started doing it, and I'm like, fuck, like they're handing out red cards for people that don't have all their stuff, and I'm counting, I'm supposed to have 4 socks, and I have 3 socks. So am I going to get a red card for having 3 socks? Well, probably. Well, I'm in the back of the line, and it's dark out, so I was like, fuck it. I took my boots off real quick, took my socks off, the ones that I was wearing, rolled them up, put them there, put my boots back on, and I was like, all right. And then he came off, checked us. Well, because I was in the back, I was one of the last ones. And they're like, all right, as soon as they finished with me, they're like, all right, pack it up. Let's go. You got 2 minutes. So I pack all my stuff up. I'm like, fuck, dude. I didn't have time to put my socks back on. And then we had to do 4 miles walking through the sand with no socks on, with a freaking 60-pound rucksack on my back. My feet were fucked. My feet were so jacked up. Yeah. So, I didn't get the the red card,
Yeah.
but
You paid the price.
I paid the
another way.
price, dude. My feet hurt for like 4 days after that.
Jeez. Can't imagine. Holy cow. Yeah, one of my good buddies, Brian, he's like, I would rather do selection again any day than do SUT again.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
He's
Selections, dude. Selection's a walk in the park once you go through SUT. Like, not a walk. Like selections, I say team week is tough.
Right.
Like gate week is not that bad, realistically. Land nav is pretty chill. You actually get quite a bit of sleep, and if you're comfortable out in the woods, like it really wasn't that bad.
Mhm.
Team week sucks. Team week's terrible. So that like team week is probably worse than anything you're going to do in SUT, but SUT is just 6 weeks of that. Like just
shit kicked in.
yeah, not sleeping, carrying a heavy ass weight. So in SUT, you're going to have the 45-pound ruck that you carried at selection, but you're also going to have ammo in it. You're going to have radios. You're going to have your flick with all of your ammo on it. You might be carrying a freaking 240. You're carrying a lot of weight. So it is brutal. I would rather do selection again than SUT 100%.
Do your Zercher squats, right? That 240.
Yeah, dude, that's like
Yeah.
Zercher squats will help you carry a 240.
Hell yeah. And then our final question is, what does resilience look like to you, and how do you encourage people to practice it?
Resilience is just being able to move forward despite the challenges that you experience. So I think we had a debate, and I want to hear your answer for this.
Okay.
Let me put a question back to you. Mental, what do you think is more important for success in selection or the military? Mental or physical?
Mental.
Why?
Because your body can do a lot more than you think it can. And I think there's that threshold of pain, right? Once you can't push through that, it almost like numbs it in a way. I mean, I've done, lots of those Ragnar races, and, it's like, oh shit, here's another leg, I'm like just trying to like shuffle out of the tent and make your way down to the start line is like painful. But then once you start going, like, you're like, okay, I'm moving. It's just that first initial few steps that get you going. That's all mental right there. So
I agree. I think mental is more important. And I took a contrarian stance in our live call last week, but I do think mental is more important. But how do you think you build the mental?
by doing the physical.
By doing the physical.
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to building resilience, one of the best things we can do is double down on the physical. Drive up your consistency with a training plan. Drive up your consistency with logging the meals, getting your nutrition in. And by doing that, even though you might experience setbacks, you might experience challenges, you might not hit the numbers that you want to at the timelines that you want. Like if you continue to drive through that, if you continue to drive through the fatigue, the prolonged fatigue that gets built up throughout that process, I think it leads to the development of resilience. Because all I think resilience is, like I said, is being able to push through the challenges or push forward with a goal or push forward with a task despite anything that arises. And that is a muscle that gets trained by consistently doing the things that we say we're going to do on a daily basis. And one of the easiest ways to do that is establish a training plan, say you're going to do it on a daily basis, then go out and action it. And if you do that over a period of time, I think it leads to that mental development and the resilience gets built up.
So on that note, how important is it to have realistic expectations of yourself? Because someone can make a list saying, oh, I'm going to do all these things, and then they do one of 5 things, and then they feel like shit, right?
Yeah.
So do you think it's important to set shorter goalposts, if you will? Or do you think you just need to step up the op tempo and make sure you're hitting what you say that you hit regardless?
Are you talking about like, I want to hit this run time by this time, or are you talking about I need to do all these things on a daily basis?
Both. Let's say both. Because say someone's new to the program, right? You got the one-on-one coaching and they've never done this type of experience before. They're fresh out of high school. Now they're expected to meet all their macros when they eat. They're expected to hit all these workouts, and we want the highest compliance set as possible for that. And, maybe they start hitting a couple of them, but then they miss them. And then they feel like crap and they're like, shoot, like I can't do this. Like I can't keep up with this. It's too much. I'm not even going to try.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a legitimate thing or?
Yeah. I think 2 things. One, in most cases, I think a lot of guys kind of undershoot their goals with their physical training goals, which, is great when you can show them the results and be like, dude, you exceeded like the goals that you mentioned 4 months ago. You know what I mean? But a lot of times you get guys who run 16, 17, 18 minute 2 miles, and they're like, I just want to be sub 15. I'm like, yeah, you can be sub 15 pretty fucking quick. Like I could get you sub 15. I can get you sub 14 pretty quick. Yeah. Now I think that like setting those types of goals, most people are relatively realistic, or they shoot for the correct, initial milestone. Every once in a while you'll get a guy that's like running an 18 minute 2 mile, and he's like, I want to be running 12 minutes in 4 months. And you're like, hold up. Let's be a little realistic about this. Let's get you running 14 minutes first. Okay. But I think that a lot of times guys can almost undershoot those, but then overshoot what it takes to get there. What I mean by that is exactly what you talked about. They try to do way too much on a daily basis. They think they need to do all of this stuff. They think they need to fill their entire daily schedule with things that's going to make their run times faster. And it's not the case. There's, like I said multiple times, there's only a couple things that you can do on a daily basis. And for most people, it takes 1 to 2 hours max. Get a training session in, eat some good dang food, and then sleep that night and prioritize your recovery. Like if you just do those things, you'll usually see your physical training, goals be met probably before you thought they were achievable. So I think for most people, there's 2 things. One, focus on doing the right stuff, not just more of random shit. Focus on the few things that are going to move you in that direction, and focus on establishing systems, not necessarily goals. Goals are good to have as like a direction of travel. But I think if you look at that direction of travel, identify the key non-negotiables, like the few tasks that actually need to take place regularly for you to move in that direction of travel, and then you just focus on implementing those in your life and establishing systems around your life to make it more possible for you to be consistent over a period of time, you will reach those goals.
Love it. So I lied. I said last question, but I got one more because I just saw this one. What is one piece of advice you would give to someone who's just started your one-on-one coaching program in order to help them be successful long-term?
Well, establishing the systems is top of mind. Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things that guys experience when they come into our coaching program, and we somewhat inundate them with information because that's when they're going to be most motivated. So I want to really instill the information in them. I send them all the videos, talk to them all about the methodology so they understand. And I think it's good to do those things, but I think where guys can kind of get into trouble is they try to maintain that same intensity that they had at the start when their motivation was super high. And then they get in and they think that that same intensity is required to be successful throughout the entire process. Whereas like, no, that's just, me kind of feeding off of your motivation. Your motivation's super high right now. Let's freaking use it. Right. But there will be a time where your motivation dips a little bit, and that's when we revert to the things that actually move the ball forward, which is those simple tasks, and we simplify the plan. We simplify what you're doing on a daily basis. So I think if you come in and you, and I tell them this, right? I emphasize this in the community all the freaking time. But if you come in and you start working towards your goal and you're fired up, so you fill every waking moment with what you're doing, it can trick you into thinking that that's what progress looks like, and you have to maintain that same intensity to continue seeing that progress over the long term. Whereas the truth is it might be 50% of that effort, but as long as you're putting that 50% of the overall effort or time that you were placing into it when you're super motivated into the right things, you can continue seeing tremendous progress.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, well, let's keep these guys motivated and hopefully, see them through to the end. And I mean, we've seen some great progress over, last couple of years of just guys who come in and, their run times are above 17, 18, and now they're crushing it. So,
yeah. And to leave, the guys listening with one thing, like for the guys driving down your run times, this is the time of the year that we see the biggest PRs. This is my favorite time of the year because this is when we get all the messages. Hey, coach, broke another PR, blah, blah, blah. Like this is the time of year. Temperatures are dropping. People are motivated coming into the end of the year. Freaking, this is the time. So get after it. Stay motivated.
Hell yeah.
I'm freaking motivated right now. Ooh, let's go.
Let's go. Let's go hunting. I mean, working out.
All right, guys, that's all we got for today. Appreciate you watching. If you made it this far, if you want to check out our program, check the link in the description. Other than that, see you next week or something.